Today's topic, how much do I need to retire as a physician? Sounds like a simple question, right? No, extremely complicated question. Almost nearly impossible to answer accurately because there's so many moving assumptions that are literally changing by the second, the minute, the day, the month, the year, life, right? So while I love this question, it is an extremely complicated question. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and we presented on this topic quite a bit. One of my very first presentations was in Nashville on the same topic, and it's very hard to give an answer when you have a whole room full of doctors with different types of savings and future lifestyles and current lifestyles. So in this video, my goal is to walk you through some foundational pieces, some things you should be thinking about on how much should you be saving, when should you start to save, what account should you be using, how much do you actually need, which again, it's going to be impossible to answer for you, the viewer right there, in this video because there's so many moving parts. But my goal is to give you some good takeaways to at least have an idea of a target to aim for, which is probably better than most. So stay tuned. That's all coming up next. Okay, the first section is when to start saving as a physician, and the answer is really yesterday, right? The sooner you can start, the better. I realize that that is not breaking news to you, or at least I hope that it's not, but the whole key to investing long-term is compounding interest, and that's really just time in the market. The market will go up, the market will go down. The longer the time you have in the market, the greater probability for better compounding interest, which means higher values in the long run, right? So that's why we're always very adamant on time in the market, and it's the same reason why when we always get the famous question on, should I pay off my debt or should I save first? What if I told you it's not an all or none? What if you do a little bit of both, right? Because I do want you to start saving. I want you to start getting some money into the market really for that. But I kind of went back and forth if I was going to do a video straight to you or if I was going to do the one where I overlay the blog post, but I'm going to read it to you. So keep in mind, if you go down to the show notes, we'll have the blog post that I'm referencing, but there's better context to be had here by me reading some of the examples, which you can go to reference on why it's important to start sooner than later. So I'm going to read the first example here. And if you're reading along at home, the section is when to start saving for retirement as a physician. So here's why sooner is better. Let's say that your goal is to retire at 65 and you want to have $4 million to retire comfortably. Now, I know what you're thinking. $4 million seems like a lot of money. Or maybe you're thinking, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. But if you're thinking it sounds like a lot of money, let me tell you why it's probably not all that much. And we'll hit this when we get a little bit further down in the blog, also in the video too. So as I progress through the video here, one of my favorite rules for a broad scope, hey, how much should you be aiming for, is what I call the 30 times rule. And the 30 times rule says, take your annual spending and multiply it by 30. And that should give you a good area to aim for. And if you're doing that, you're right around $133,000 per year, $11,000 per month. We're essentially doing everything right now in pre-tax terms, which is important. That's not a lot, at least for the physicians that we work with. And we're not talking about yachts and private jets and caviar, but just a good standard of living is likely going to be a little bit higher than that for the lifestyle that most physicians are used to coming into it. Everyone's going to have their own mix. Again, we work with physicians, even plug in high income, Gen X, Gen Y here, high accumulation years. There's going to be some higher spending from habits we've built up. But let's use 4 million for this example. So if you start at 65 and we assume a 6% annual rate of return, which should be more than fair. You could argue that might be conservative, but I'd rather have it be conservative. Or as I always say to our clients, I want your plan to be in the most conservative view. I'd rather have surprises to the upside, not the downside. So let's use 6%. My whole goal here is to show you the ages. So if you started saving at age 30, you need to save around $2,800 per month to age 65 to get around that $4 million number, if we're using the straight line 6% assumption. Now, if you delayed that until 40, which for physicians, that's not crazy. One, usually you're still in training in your 30s or just coming into your attending status, depending on your specialty, but it's not uncommon to see a lot of physicians get mid-30s, late 30s, maybe early 40s. If you plug in the later career start, you plug in student loans, you plug in family planning, you kind of have this thing called retirement on the back burner the whole time. So let's just say compare 30 to 40 here, which is only a 10-year window, but not all that crazy for the physician group. So instead of $2,800 per month, you now have have to save a little bit more than double that. $5,775 per month. Just 10 years. You now have to save twice as much to hit those same goals of $4 million at age 65. So that is why it's really important to get started. It's more or less the compounded interest. And if you scroll down a little bit further, there's another good chart from JP Morgan, and they kind of just say like, hey, based on your age, here's where we think you should be at. The reason why I don't love this chart is because it wasn't built for physicians, so it doesn't have that, what I call the career delay there, in terms of actually getting compounding interest really fired up when you can start to save. But in their chart, they're saying a 40-year-old, I put in the word physician because that's who we work with. So I said a 40-year-old physician making $250,000 per year should have around $1 million saved at age 40. So 40-year-old physician making $250,000 per year on average the past few years, they should have around 4 times. If you say a 60-year-old physician making $300,000 per year, they use a 12.2 ratio, which means they think that individual should be right around 3.6 million. So all of a sudden you can see why my $4 million number doesn't look all that crazy. But moral of the story from this section, my goal is just to get you comfortable with the idea, the sooner the better. This is also why we tell our residents and fellows, get some money going if they offer you a match. Start a Roth IRA or a backdoor Roth IRA for yourself. Just get it going. And we know that when you do get that larger career jump from training to attending, or student loans are finally out of your way, you're going to have numerous opportunities to really ramp that up. But just getting something in there is so important for that long-term compounding interest. Okay, for this section, it is labeled as how much should I be saving? And this would have been very painful to walk through without some visual aid. So I am back to the shared screen. So we're going to go through these numbers here. This is also neat because you have access to this spreadsheet. Again, we're not going to be precise this far out. Our goal is to give you an idea of what's going on. We're using lots of assumptions. Those assumptions are changing literally by the minute, by the second. So our goal is to at least give you a target to aim for here, especially if you're DIYing this and you haven't worked with the CFP. And even on the CFP side, I hate to break it to everybody, we're still making educated guesses here, because we don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the market's going to do tomorrow. I don't know what tax rates are going to be. I don't know what crazy course corrections we're going to have throughout life together, right? We're going to see some crazy things. So goal here is to just work it backwards on how much should you be aiming for. So on my screen here to this side, I'm going to use those same numbers that we were using before. So you can see we're using this 4 million number. Here's that $133,000 per year. So remember, the name of the game here was, how much do I need to be saving? So I use the same 6% rate of return, which is right there. And then I also plug in inflation right there. So it gives us a real rate of return of 3%. That's just kind of future thinking. Your goal here is this section. Here's what we're going to focus on. And it comes back to what we noted in the last section. The sooner you start, the less you have to save. So this chart is telling us that if you have a 40-year runway, so in this example, I would say this one's tough for physicians, because let's just say you started at 30, you're working till 70. Maybe you plan to work till 70. I don't come across too many physicians that want to work until 70. Certain specialties, we could cut that back by 20 years is the most common response we hear. So it's tough, but if you could pull it off, you're aiming for right around $26,000 per year with a 6% rate of return, which should be fair. You're going to end up right around this $4 million number there. And you can see this is all based on my 30 times rule. It's my favorite rule right there. Now, here's where we get into more physician terms. Start at 30, retire at 60, or start at 35, retire at 65. And this is assuming a hard cutoff. A lot of physicians like to add in more work-life balance, and that might give them better longevity from a career perspective. So maybe you can get into your 60s or your 70s if you have better work-life balance. But let's just say 30 years here. So common, I think, for physicians, we'll say 35 to 65. You're aiming for right around $51,000 per year. So this can be a combination of your qualified plans, your Roth IRA, your taxable accounts. I usually don't plug in HSAs here. We could if you're going to truly use them for longer term healthcare costs, but for the most part, think about this as 3 buckets. Your qualified accounts, your Roths, and your taxable accounts, whether that's an individual or joint taxable account. Now, if you have a 20-year runway, get ready to ratchet it up, because now you're close to about $109,000 per year. So you can make this your own. You can literally come in here, and if you said, hey, I want to spend $250,000 per year, don't do $2.5 million. If you can do that, you are a savage. $250,000 per year, $7.5 million, here's your numbers. If you say, Chad, I don't like that number either. I like $200,000. Fantastic. Here are your numbers. If you say you're crazy, I am with the Dave Ramsey crew. I can do 8%. Heck, I might be able to do 12%. As soon as you change that number, those numbers are going to change too. So that's 8% compared to my 6%. So 6%, you got to save more. If you're going to say, hey, I think I can get a higher number, and you bump it up to this 8, still keeping inflation at 3, and that number comes down a little bit. I want your plan to be more conservative, so I personally would be telling you to lean more towards the conservative side. You're not going to be angry with me for having too much money in retirement, right? Until I get an angry call from a client saying, what do I do with all this money? I'm always going to build plans on the more conservative side and let the other surprises to the upside, not the downside. So in this section, remember, our goal is how much do we need to be saving? Here's your targets. This spreadsheet is also yours. Make it your own. Next section, goal is how much do I need to retire as a physician? And I probably have given this one away, but you're aiming for 30 times your estimated spending in retirement, which I know is very hard. I know that's even a loaded comment in its own, right? I can't think that far in advance. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. The kids are out of the nest. I'm doing this. My mortgage is paid off, but then I added a vacation home. Utilities are this. Gas is going up. Groceries are this. It's a moving target. And that's what I mean when I try to humanize long-term planning, whether that's retirement plan or even long-term goals. But if you use the 30 times rule, it is crazy to me how often this matches up. And when we build plans and we look at that long-term ratio, we look at their success rate based on the Monte Carlo simulation, it's amazing how often that 30 times is a very good number. So just to use easy numbers here, if you think you need 100,000 per year, this is the easy one. 30 times that is 3 million. If you take it by 150, that's 4.5 million. I got to check my numbers so I don't mess up my video, right? If you said 200,000, you're going to aim for 6 million. If you're aiming for 250, you're aiming for 7.5 million. That's at least a target to aim for, but if you can keep it very simple for this section, I know I've noted this numerous times, not only throughout this video, but probably numerous other videos too, because of how straightforward this rule is, but at least gives you a target to aim for. Aim for that 30 times rule. So 30x your estimated retirement spend. What are the best accounts for you to be using to hit these goals? Well, let's keep it simple. There's 3 buckets that are always top of mind when you're going to save. The first one is going to be your qualified plans through your employer. Think of this bucket as your 401k, your 403b, if they have a governmental 457b. Easy buckets here. Even non-governmental 457bs would fall in here too, but you got to read the fine print. My next bucket is going to be your Roth. For the bulk of you, this is likely going to have to be a backdoor Roth IRA. I won't get into the context of the backdoor Roth IRA. We have numerous other videos. A Google search will also get you a ton of great information on it. I always say my key with that one is just make sure you don't have any other IRA balances. Don't mess up the pro rata. And then after that, you filled up all those buckets. Now where I'm looking towards your taxable account. So whether it's an individual taxable account, whether it's a joint taxable account, remember if you live in one of the 18 states that allow tenants by the entirety, add that on there for asset protection. Those are your 3 buckets. Those are the ones you're going to aim for. Now, other buckets that can come in. Maybe you have more than one. Academic medicine, academic physicians. One of my favorite things is we probably have a 403b and we probably have a governmental 457b with a lot of institutions. Also for my VA physicians, don't forget to plug in your TSP here for that qualified bucket. I sometimes skip over that one. The TSP is certainly right there in that bucket. Does your 401k plan allow something called after-tax contributions? If they do, you can actually save a lot more into here. Now, the kicker is they're after-tax contributions, but the very, very infamous mega backdoor Roth IRA evolves from those after-tax contributions. So I won't get into the details of that one for this video, but see if you have that option. Once you're above certain ages, you can put more into these accounts. Your HSA, your health savings account, assuming 1, that you're using a high deductible health plan that is HSA eligible, but 2, making sure that a high deductible health plan actually makes sense for you and your family. But an HSA is another great savings tool because you can let that build up and compound for your healthcare needs. So those can all go in there as well. Those are just a few accounts to keep in mind. If you have 1099 income, we can start to introduce something called a solo 401k plan on top of maybe what you're saving to a 403b. If you are just crushing it with 1099 income, we can get super crazy here. We can actually add something in called a defined benefit plan, or what I like to utilize as a cash balance plan, where you can put even more money away on a pre-tax savings. But just keep those buckets in mind. Like I said at the start there, qualified plans through your employer, Roth bucket, taxable account are going to be your 3 main spots to try to hit your savings goals. Outside of there, yes, you can get into different types of real estate investing, alternative investments, but keep it simple. I'm always amazed by how many times I have to tell people you don't have to do anything crazy, even when you have multiple millions of dollars. Just keep it simple. You're going to be okay in the long run. But keep those buckets in mind for your savings goals. and to hit some of those larger bucket goals. And there you have it. How much do I need to retire as a physician? One of the most common questions, probably one of the most popular questions, but as I always say, the most loaded question. Because even if the perfect answer existed, it doesn't. It would still be changing by the minute and by the second because there's so many moving parts. So your goal is to have a target and continue to make progress towards that target. Keep a conservative outlook. You're not going to be upset saving too much, but you will be very upset if you have to come out of retirement to go back to work. So that's why we always want to plug in those conservative estimates. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you hanging out with me for the last 15 minutes or so. If you have not subscribed, now would be a great time to do it. Also, if you click on the little bell icon, you'll get a notification every time we're releasing new content. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next video.